Hello everyone. It's so nice to see you all back on my channel. Today, I'm bringing you another deeply emotional love story, the story of CEO James and LyTuDiep, a journey filled with tears, but also overflowing with love and hope. Right now, Diep is undergoing treatment in the hospital for a serious illness. The strong and resilient girl who once faced everything bravely is now fighting each day for her life. By her side is James, the man who was once cold and strict, now a loving, devoted, and gentle husband. He hasn't left her for even a moment, taking care of her, encouraging her, and holding her hand tightly, as if afraid that if he lets go, she might slip away forever. Everyone, let's stay tuned until the end of today's video to truly understand the story's progression, and to feel the depth of love and sacrifice between these two people. And don't forget to leave a comment, a word of prayer or encouragement. Let's send positive energy together and hope that Diep will recover soon, so that her beautiful smile can once again brighten the world. The rain kept falling, tiny droplets gathered on the window pane, then slowly slid down, leaving behind cold, uneven streaks. The entire city seemed to be veiled in a blanket of gray mist that morning, so heavy that even the sound of breathing felt lost in the damp, chilled air. Inside a hospital room on the 4th floor, pale light filtered through a thin white curtain, casting a soft glow on Diep's ashen face. She lay motionless, her breathing rising and falling faintly in rhythm with the beeping of the heart monitor, beep, beep, steady and distant. Her skin was drained of color, her lips dry, her dark hair scattered loosely over the pillow. On the bedside table sat a vase of white chrysanthemums James had bought the night before. The petals had already begun to droop, fragile, just like the fading life within the young woman lying there. James sat beside her, his once broad shoulders now tense and drawn in. He hadn't slept all night. Dark circles shadowed his eyes, his shirt was wrinkled from hours of leaning against the hard hospital chair. His hand clutched hers tightly, warm, but trembling. Each time she made the slightest movement, he startled, lifting his head, hoping to see her eyes open. But Diep remained still, lost in the restless sleep of someone fighting pain and exhaustion. He leaned down, pressing her hand gently against his cheek. His voice was so soft it nearly blended with the sound of rain outside. "Please hang on, Diep. I'm right here. I'm not going anywhere. Just open your eyes, and I'll smile again. I'll take you home, back to the garden you love." From the hallway came the faint squeak of rubber soles. The door opened quietly, and a nurse in a white coat stepped in. Her voice was gentle but tinged with hesitation. "Mr. James, the doctor would like to speak with you privately about this morning's test results." James froze. His whole body went rigid. His eyes instinctively turned toward Diep. She lay still, her lashes fluttering slightly but not opening. In that fleeting moment, a cold wave of fear rose in him, the kind that whispered that if he left, even for a second, she might slip away forever. Slowly, he stood up. His hand loosened its grip, the warmth of her skin still lingering on his fingertips. He bent down, brushed a strand of hair from her forehead, and whispered, "I'll be right back, don't be afraid." Then the door closed softly behind him, leaving only the faint scent of disinfectant, and the endless sound of rain. The hospital corridor stretched long and dim, yellow light reflecting off the wet tiles. James walked on, each step heavier than the last, weighed down by the fear tightening in his chest. Outside, the rain grew louder, drumming against the tin roof, a harsh rhythm that echoed his heartbeat, fast and uneven, pounding with dread of what he was about to hear. He stopped before the doctor's office, took a deep breath, clenched his fist, and knocked lightly. Somewhere deep inside, James still hoped to hear comforting words, that everything would be all right. But in the shadow of his weary eyes, he already knew, this morning would change everything. James sat silently in front of the doctor, his shoulders trembling slightly, eyes fixed on the cold wooden table. The faint yellow light in the small office cast a weary glow across his face, pale, exhausted, and shadowed by a deep, consuming fear. Outside, the rain still poured heavily, each drop striking the windowpane with a steady tap, tap, echoing the frantic rhythm of his heartbeat, fast, tight, and suffocating in his chest. After a long silence, he finally spoke, his voice hoarse, strained, as if dragged up from the depths of despair. "Doctor, if she goes to Australia for treatment, will she be able to handle it? Is there a risk? She's already so weak." The middle-aged doctor looked up, concern flickering in his eyes. He flipped through several pages of the medical file before speaking in a calm but hesitant tone. "To be honest, this is an extremely rare case. Long-distance travel in her current condition would be exhausting, even dangerous without close medical supervision. But if we delay any longer, her chance of recovery will be almost non-existent. We can help prepare all the medical records and send them to the center in Australia for evaluation before you go. There's still a chance, though a very small one." James nodded slowly, eyes lowering to his clenched hands. It felt as if the entire world had shrunk to a single, flickering point of light, fragile, faint, yet the only hope he could hold on to. Memories flooded back in slow motion, Diep's gentle smile under the morning sun, her bent figure watering flowers by the porch, her trembling voice when she said, "I wish we could have a child who looks like you." Each image cut through his heart like glass. "Thank you, Doctor," James said quietly, his voice trembling, every word squeezed from what little strength he had left. "Please give me all her records, including the endoscopy reports and original test results. I'll contact the center in Australia today. Even if I have to sell everything I own, I will take her there." The doctor nodded, compassion softening his expression. "I understand. You truly love her. I hope a miracle will come, if only to give her a reason to keep fighting." James bowed his head in gratitude, then slowly stood up. His every movement was heavy, deliberate, as if each step pressed down on his own heart. The door opened softly, letting in a gust of cold air from the hallway that made him shiver. Outside, the neon light reflected off the rain-soaked tiles, mirroring the lone figure of a man walking through the echoing sound of rain pelting the tin roof. He stopped by the last window at the end of the corridor, watching the raindrops slide down the glass like tears. The sky was leaden gray, suffocating in its weight. Leaning his forehead against the cold pane, he drew in a long breath and closed his eyes. His voice came out in a whisper, part promise, part prayer. "Diep, don't worry. Even if there's only the faintest chance, I'll take it. I swear, I won't let you go, even if I have to chase you to the ends of the earth." His hand clenched tightly, knuckles turning white. In the distance, thunder rumbled, a flash of lightning lit his face, the face of a man resolute to his very core, yet carrying a pain too deep to hide. At that moment, a nurse passed by and stopped, calling softly, "Mr. James. Ms. Diep just woke up. She seems to be looking for you." James's head snapped up. For a brief second, a spark of light flickered in his eyes, small, but enough to ignite the strength in his steps again. Without another word, he turned and almost ran down the corridor toward her room. The long hallway echoed with the sound of his footsteps, blending with the rain outside, fast, urgent, and filled with the fragile hope of a man fighting against fate itself, determined to hold on to the woman he loves with everything he has. That afternoon, the sky was still draped in a pale gray hue. Thin traces of rain clung to the window frame, reflecting the faint light of sunset. The hospital room still carried the mingled scents of antiseptic and the white chrysanthemums James had replaced for Diep earlier that morning. When he pushed open the door, Diep was awake. She sat leaning gently against the headboard, her face still pale, but there was a faint spark of life in her eyes. Seeing him, she smiled, a fragile smile that made James's heart ache. "Where did you go? I thought you'd gone home." James paused for a moment, trying to steady the storm of emotion stirred by what the doctor had told him. He moved closer, pulled up a chair, and took her hand, an instinct, almost a reflex by now. "I just went to see the doctor, asked a bit more about your treatment. Don't worry, everything's going to be fine." The words sounded calm, but his voice trembled slightly, and his eyes avoided hers. Diep said nothing. Her gaze drifted toward the window where the rain still fell in fine, silvery threads. Her face was calm, too calm, but her fingers clutched the white blanket tightly, as if to hide the fear surging within. The silence stretched on, broken only by the rhythmic beeping of the heart monitor. Then, in a voice barely above a whisper, she said, "James, if I can't have children anymore, would you regret choosing me?" The question froze him. For a second, his heart stopped. He looked at her, those fragile eyes staring back at him, full of terror, like a child awaiting a verdict. He couldn't speak right away. The only sound was the rain outside, falling harder, swallowing every breath between them. James slowly stood, stepped forward, and pulled her into his arms. He held her tightly, so tightly, as if his warmth could chase away all her fear. His voice broke, rough but firm. "Diep, listen to me. I love you, not because you can or can't have children. I love you because you are you, the woman who's walked through every storm with me, who taught me what love truly means. I don't need anything else. You are my family, my everything." Diep bit her lip, tears spilling slowly down her cheeks. She buried her face against his shoulder, feeling that familiar warmth, comforting, yet painfully fragile. Her voice trembled. "But I'm scared that there's no hope left, scared that one day you'll grow tired of me." James drew back slightly, cupping her face in both hands, his eyes locking onto hers, the eyes that had once given him a reason to change his life. His voice was low, steady, filled with unshakable conviction. "We'll go to Australia, Diep. There's a new treatment there. The chance is only 20%, but even if it's just 1%, I'll take it. I'm not afraid of failing. I'm only afraid of you giving up. We'll fight this together, all right?" She looked at him for a long moment, then nodded, a faint, trembling smile curving her lips. In the dimming light, her tears still fell, but now they shimmered, reflecting a quiet glow of faith and fragile hope blossoming amid the storm. Outside, the rain had eased. From afar, the last rays of sunset broke through the clouds, streaming into the small hospital room, wrapping the two of them in soft golden light. In that moment, all the pain seemed to fade, leaving only love, steadfast and true, like a silent promise whispered between their hearts. "No matter how hard the road ahead may be, I will hold your hand and walk it with you." That morning, the air was still heavy with dew, and gray clouds blanketed the small courtyard outside. Somewhere in the distance, a bird sang weakly, its voice mingling with the faint scent of smoke drifting from the kitchen. An ordinary morning, yet in everyone's heart lingered an unusual heaviness. James had been up early. He sat at the wooden table, a stack of medical records, passports, and plane tickets neatly laid out before him. Those lifeless sheets of paper carried the last fragile thread of hope he had left for Diep. Outside the doorway, Mrs. Huynh stood silently, worry written across her face. She had watched her son face hardship after hardship, strong, determined, never one to back down, but today, there was something different in his eyes. Beneath that calm surface was the exhaustion of a man fighting not against the world, but against the fear of losing the woman he loved most. She stepped closer, resting a trembling hand on his shoulder. Her voice was low, heavy with concern. "Are you sure about this, James? The trip is long, expensive, and full of risks. I'm afraid, if something were to happen." James looked up, meeting her gaze. His eyes were resolute, yet beneath that strength lay a deep ache. He took her hand, his tone soft but unwavering. "I know, Mom. I've thought about it over and over. But if I stop now, I'll regret it for the rest of my life. Even if there's only a 20% chance, I have to try. I can't let her live trapped in despair. As long as there's even a flicker of hope left, I won't let go." Mrs. Huyn looked at her son for a long time, then slowly nodded. She knew, once James's heart had chosen, nothing in this world could change his path. Her eyes glistened with tears, but she held them back, squeezing his hand instead. "Then go, my son. I'll take good care of little Nee. Just stay calm, and believe that everything will be all right. May heaven bless you both." Just then, the sound of small footsteps echoed from the doorway. Little Nee ran in, her hair messy, her eyes red from crying. She wrapped her arms tightly around James's leg, her voice trembling with sobs. "Uncle James, is Miss Diep going to be okay? Is she hurting a lot?" James bent down and lifted the little girl into his arms. He stroked her soft hair gently, his voice catching in his throat. "She's just a little weak, sweetheart. She needs to go far away for a while to get better. When she's healthy again, I'll bring her back to you, all right?" Nee's big eyes shimmered with tears, her lashes trembling. She nodded hard, forcing a smile even as her lips quivered. "I promise I'll be good. I'll listen to Grandma, and I'll wait for her to come back. I want to see her smile again, Uncle James." James held her close, kissing her milk-scented hair. He said nothing more, only listened to the steady rhythm of her tiny heartbeat against his chest, the sound that fueled his determination to save Diep, no matter what it cost. Mrs. Huyn stood nearby, silently wiping her tears. The dim morning light filtered through the window, falling on the three of them, a mother, a son, and a child, bound by love, sorrow, and hope. It was a farewell, but also the beginning of a journey to seek a miracle amidst fear and uncertainty. As James gathered the documents and pulled his suitcase toward the door, little Nee ran after him, waving her small hand high, her clear voice echoing through the still air. "Uncle James, tell Miss Diep I'm waiting for her. She has to get better and come back to me." James turned, his smile gentle though his eyes were red. He nodded and bent slightly, replying with an unspoken promise, "I'll bring her back, I swear." Outside, the rain had stopped. A faint ray of sunlight pierced through the clouds, falling across the yard, shimmering like a fragile thread of hope, newly lit amid the lingering storms. The airport loudspeaker echoed rhythmically through the vast hall. Streams of people moved in endless lines, each carrying their own story, their own destination, but among the crowd, there was one pair standing still, hands clasped tightly, eyes meeting in silence. James gently adjusted the scarf around Diep's neck, his touch careful, afraid that even the slightest movement might cause her pain. Before him, she looked so small, fragile, almost weightless. She sat in a wheelchair, wrapped in a pale pink coat he had chosen for her himself. It was the color she once said made her feel like being wrapped in the morning sun. But now, that gentle shade of pink only made her seem even more delicate under the cool white lights of the terminal. Her face had grown thinner, her skin pale enough that faint veins showed through her wrist. Yet in her eyes, those soft, kind eyes that once held so much warmth, there still flickered a fragile spark of determination, like a candle refusing to die out in a storm. The soft hum of wheels on polished stone blended with the overhead announcements, the scraping of luggage, the hurried footsteps and murmurs of travelers. Amid those sounds, James bent down and whispered, "Are you tired? Do you want to sit and rest a bit longer?" Diep shook her head gently. Her gaze turned toward the wide glass window where the runway stretched endlessly. Her voice was barely a breath. "I'm scared, James. I'm scared of going somewhere so far away, scared of what I don't know, scared of lying in a hospital bed in a foreign country where no one knows me. And I'm scared that one day, I won't be able to come back." James fell silent. In that instant, he could feel his own heartbeat quicken, each beat heavy with unspoken fear. He tightened his grip on her hand, his voice low but steady, full of warmth. "I know, Diep. I'm scared too. But I'm here. Right beside you. No matter where we go, as long as you're holding my hand, that's home. We'll face this together, okay?" Diep lifted her eyes to him, her lips trembling, tears glistening. She didn't speak, just nodded. A single tear slid down, landing on his hand and disappearing into the warmth of his skin. In that brief moment, no more promises were needed. Only silence, and within that silence, 1,000 words of love, faith, and courage. The intercom crackled again, the soft voice of the announcer carrying through the air. "Flight QF432 to Sydney is now boarding. Passengers, please proceed to the departure gate." A flight attendant approached with a kind smile. "Are you ready, sir?" James nodded. He drew a deep breath, leaned down to fix her scarf again, and brushed a stray strand of hair from her cheek. His hand lingered over hers, firm, steady, and in his eyes was a silent vow, "I will never let go." He began pushing the wheelchair slowly toward the gate. The sound of his footsteps echoed on the glossy floor, each step heavy with fear, hope, and determination. Through the tall glass walls, the silver airplane waited, its body gleaming faintly in the fading light. Diep turned her head one last time, her eyes tracing the terminal around her. She knew, this was the beginning of a journey whose ending no one could predict. But beside her was James, the man who had never left, not even in her darkest nights. She smiled through her tears, that tender, fragile smile that carried both pain and peace. As they stopped before the wide window, the afternoon light poured in, bathing them both in a soft, golden glow. The sound of the airport faded, replaced by the distant hum of engines. And then, a narrator's voice, deep, calm, and resonant, seemed to echo from somewhere within the heart. "Some flights don't just carry people, but also fragile hopes, balancing between despair and belief. And sometimes, miracles only come to those who dare to keep believing, even when all seems lost." The plane began to taxi down the runway. Through the window, the sky opened wide, clouds swirling in the orange light of sunset. Inside the cabin, Diep leaned her head gently on James's shoulder, eyes closed, her hand still resting in his. James looked out the window, his thoughts a quiet whisper, to her, or perhaps to himself. "We'll come home, Diep. I promise, we'll come home." Outside, the clouds parted, and the last light of the sun broke through, a soft, golden promise that true love will always find its way back, no matter how many storms it must endure. Not all miracles come easily. But sometimes, all it takes is one heart that refuses to give up. And that alone is enough to turn the impossible into possible. Stay tuned for the next episode, Diep's healing journey in a foreign land, where love is tested between pain and hope.
Xin chào tất cả mọi người đã quay trở lại với kênh của mình. Hôm nay thì mình tiếp tục đưa đến với mọi người video tiếp theo về câu chuyện của CEO James và LyTuDiep. Mọi người thân mến, như mọi người cũng đã biết thì James là một CEO khá là nổi tiếng, và anh ấy có một tình yêu rất mãnh liệt và tươi đẹp đối với Diep, một cô gái nghèo. khổ, và trước kia thì cũng đã từng đổ vỡ một lần khi bị bán đi làm vợ của một người đàn ông nghiện rượu. Và tình yêu của họ đã phát triển đến mức là hai người sắp về chung một nhà. Và tuy nhiên tình yêu ấy thì lại không được tươi đẹp như những gì họ muốn, mà phải trải qua muôn vàn khó khăn. Và hiện tại thì Diệp đang bị bệnh khá là nặng, và khả năng chữa trị và ảnh hưởng sau này rất lớn, nên là James đã quyết định đưa cô ấy sang nước ngoài. Vậy thì hành trình điều trị bệnh ở nước ngoài của Diệp sẽ như thế nào? Mình mời mọi người đón xem video ở tập sau nhé. Tạm biệt mọi người.